Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. In the blink of an eye, today my daughter ran into the office and began twirling the computer mouse like a medieval battlefield weapon, and then dove under the desk and started to rip out power plugs. I barely had time to ask, where was she? Before the lights were flickering and the sounds of busting plastic mixed with the cackles of glee.
And boom goes the Wi-Fi.
And the Wi-Fi goes down. Where's our Wi-Fi? Now, welcome to Homeschool Together podcast. Now, that might be a description of your daily life.
It's a description of ours.
Sometimes not. Sometimes I decide to tie her up to a tree out back. We have a 6-foot high fence and CPS can't see over it. So I feel I'm pretty safe. Well, before we get going, if you have a chance, head down in the show notes, follow us on social media, get our resource guide for around the world studies. And if you could, please leave us a review on iTunes. That would really, really be helpful. So today we are going to be hitting one of the big questions is managing your homeschooling when you have a Tasmanian devil, a child, a toddler, a baby, a wildebeest.
Yes, a preschooled age child, a younger sibling. And let's make the disclaimer right up front that
we do not have the answers.
Yeah, we don't. Sorry, folks. If you came here for looking for, we don't have those.
We're going to talk about ideas. A lot of them you guys know. I think I think the main thing that we'll talk about is, things that we've heard other people do. But talk a lot about what I've done in the last about 18 months and how I've dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, we're not totally hapless. We have found some solutions, and we thought we would just kind of get into it. This is a tough topic. So we were just reading some posts. Matthew put out a Reddit post and said, here's what I'm dealing with. It. Anybody else got any better ideas? And the comments that came in were hilarious. They're like, I feel this deep in my soul.
Yes.
I live this on a daily basis. If you find the answer, let me know. Let's just face it. Managing to homeschool and have that focus time with an older child while you have a baby or toddler that needs your attention and is, potentially trying to kill themselves.
Suicidal dictators.
I mean,
that's
yeah.
what I call them.
So, I mean, it's really hard. It's super hard. There are days when you come downstairs before our toddler's nap that you're just like, it's 9:30 and you already look like you're fried just from having to try to.
Well, today's a good example. So she had, you came out right before we went upstairs to start homeschooling and you had the temerity to walk outside the office.
Right.
And show your face.
I need a glass of water.
Well, or have to use the restroom or God forbid,
need fresh air.
The dog stunk up the office or something like that. And you had to get some fresh air.
That seriously happens.
I know it does happen all the time. And then, the little one saw you and it was total meltdown.
No, she didn't even see me.
She heard you.
She heard me.
That's right.
She was not here. I always look, right? Because I'm like,
the funny thing
I am
is,
so thirsty right now.
Your door is so sticky. And when
I
you
try to open it super quietly.
It makes a distinctive pop.
I feel like I'm like a cat burglar in my own home, right? I know you're upstairs. I'm so thirsty. I try to open the office door and like crack as it opens.
And she knows.
I step right out. And then all I hear from upstairs is
mom.
She's like the birds in Finding Nemo. Mine. So she runs across I can hear her running down the hallway.
Nurse.
Yeah, nurse is her favorite. She's learning to talk, and nurse is her favorite new word. She's running down the hallway screaming for me, right? And he was just about to put her down for nap, and I felt so bad. Yeah. I felt so terrible that I was doing this.
And she also had a meltdown when we went into the bonus room and to do homeschooling, and I shut the door and she just sat there and just wailed.
Right, because she wants to brush her teeth all the time.
She wants to brush her teeth all the time.
So she brings things from all over the upstairs
Yeah.
to the spare bathroom as things that she can stand on or try to stand on, so that she can try to reach the toothbrushes because she wants to brush her
become a
teeth.
dentist.
That would be really funny.
That would be really funny.
Yeah, because Olaf brushes his teeth on one of the stay-at-homes,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
she learned brush. It was like one of her first words.
Brush.
She wants to brush her teeth constantly. So this is
So,
this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with. So these are the challenges, though, right? You have a baby or a toddler. They're super needy, right? They always need something
Any
from
mom
you.
or dad. And worst of all, for me, let's be honest, both my girls don't need me, right? I walk in the house, they kind of just go, "Oh, dad's back," or I could be gone for like 5 days, and I walk in, they go, "Oh, there he is."
That's not
And
true.
they walk, they get a. You step out to put something in the trash can and come back. It's worse than like an anxiety-riddled dog. They come running to the door.
know.
You're lucky. I mean, you can't go outside right now because the little one will actually follow you outside.
Right. I went to take the trash out last night, and
opens
she
the door.
started screaming, and she opened the door to the garage to come get me.
How
I'm like,
dare
I just
you
had to
leave
go
my
get
presence, right?
the
Yeah.
garbage out.
So we've all seen this. We've all experienced this. A lot of moms, I think, get the worst of this, especially a lot of the homeschooling parents are moms, and so you actually have the worst of it both because you have this clingy child that desperately needs you.
Especially when you're also a nursing mother.
You're also
That's
a nursing mother.
fun.
It can be terrible. So, I have a little bit of an advantage that my kids really don't need me in that capacity.
but the younger daughter still wants your attention all the time.
She does. Obviously, I have the same issue of attention seeking, but I don't have the kind of the
clingy problem.
The clingy problem as much as maybe a mother would.
Right. And that's really hard, right? There's a lot of times, I'm sitting down to read a story with our older daughter. I take them every morning kind of early, so you get a little bit of time to yourself early in the morning as our children wake up at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn now.
Yeah.
They wake up at, 5 something. So I take them in the morning, and I just want to read a book to my older daughter, and she's really into it. And the younger one just wants to be like all up in that.
Climbing up on the chair with you.
Climbing up,
you.
trying to pull your hair, or, tear pages out of the book, or it's really difficult, right? You have this small child that wants your attention constantly, isn't able to really do a lot of independent play, maybe a little bit, but
A little bit, yeah.
It's definitely a real challenge. They're not very flexible.
Yeah, no, they don't really go with the flow.
Babies are great, right?
Babies are great.
You can pack and go with a lot of babies are.
A lot. I mean, obviously, mileage may vary, but
Yeah.
For me, the babies were always a lot better than, once they became 12 months old, 13 months old, became very, very independent,
Well,
wanted
right,
to
once they
play,
became
get down.
mobile.
Yeah, it's been very challenging, once they get mobile,
And they don't
once
sleep as much.
once they begin to grab at things and whatnot. But I found that the babies were actually a lot easier, especially when I was doing homeschooling with my oldest. When my youngest was 3 or 4 or 5 months old, that was very easy. It was a lot easier for me because they don't really need that much. They're just happy to be there, that type of thing.
Right. They're not like running through the house.
Yeah.
I feel like our toddler now is like the equivalent of that old, what was it, like a Stainmaster carpet commercial or something, where the kid's in the walker chasing the dog all the way around the house.
Exactly, yeah.
I feel like it's like that, and the dog feels it right now too. She's the center of all attention from the toddler right now. But I feel like it's that she's like constantly running. She's constantly moving. She's getting into.
She doesn't walk anywhere. She just runs to places.
Right. It's almost manic at this point. She's so into every tiny
and
opening.
Then she's also loud too, right? I mean, and a lot of it is the older one kind of eggs on the younger one to start yelling and stuff. But she has like one speed, which is 12.
Right.
She doesn't even go to 11. It's just past Spinal Tap 11. She's at the 12. And then she has, only one volume level, which is loud. She communicates by like crying, that type of thing all the time.
Just cry.
And so that can be very distracting to the older kid, especially when you're trying to get them to focus on something. And so hopefully we'll go through a couple ideas that a lot of, maybe you guys can incorporate if you are running into this problem. If you have a newborn and you're trying to deal with some older child and you're trying to homeschool, it can be very challenging. So hopefully we can get you some good ideas here.
Yeah. I mean, this is some things we used, right? That that younger sibling, they're not all that flexible when when their needs need to be met. They need to be met now.
And when we post this in the Facebook group or on Instagram or however you consume it, please feel free to share what you do. I think it's one of those things where there's a million different things you can do, and only about 1% of them will work for you. And so it's really, really helpful to get what other people do, because you'll read 10 things and you go, nope, my kid ain't doing that. Nope, they're not doing that. Oh, that one might work. So it's really good just to get kind of the buckshot of
this is the
ideas.
One that, it takes a village thing. On your Reddit post, one of the moms said, oh, I love to strap my younger child into the high chair and let them play with, all kinds of things that keep them busy, like shaving cream and pudding and other things. And we were like, nope. No, we're not. No, I'm not going to let my toddler play with shaving cream. I'm sure she would love it.
She would love it.
Or people do the sensory bins filled with rice. I mean, God bless you, but I just, we're not going to do that. There would be grains of rice. We'd be finding grains of rice for years to come.
Maybe they have chickens in their house or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The dog doesn't eat rice right now. So
the first thing we'll talk a little bit about just kind of the philosophy, the idea of setting yourself up for success. Most of the, we've heard all the cliche, self-help stuff that, success comes from planning, or planning leads to success. This is very true for this type of thing, that if you just go into it and you're not prepared, it can get very frustrating. Right. You're having to scramble for solutions in the moment. You're losing the focus of your older kid. That gets frustrating. They're not paying attention. So coming into it with some well thought out ideas, some planning that comes, that you can put into practice, can help alleviate a lot of these problems. Now, is it going to work all the time? Obviously not. Yeah. But if you have a good idea of what your toddler likes, what is good, what can distract them from, not giving you that 5 to 10 minutes you might need to do a math lesson or something like that. If you can come together with a box of things or whatnot, it can be, the most helpful thing that in any situation.
Yeah. I mean, basically, one does not simply walk into Mordor.
No, you need your Samwise Gamgee to help you through.
You need to have a plan. So one of the things for us is we're big religious believers in the nap and the snack. We ultimately,
Charlton Heston, from my cold dead hands, will you pry my naps?
So we religiously follow our younger child's nap schedule. Whenever possible.
It's true for both kids.
We always did. Even for the older, we still have quiet time, and we are very
religiously focused my entire life. I've devoted 5 years of my life to my children's napping.
Because it makes them like habitable humans, right? I mean, otherwise they're just very.
It's
and I know my parents think
Matt, do you want to hang out?
But...
Do you want to hang out at 10 o'clock in the morning? No, I can't. One of my children is napping. Do you want to hang out at 2:30 at my house? Sorry, buddy. My kid's napping. You just have to say no because it's so important.
I know. I know. And my parents still give us that look. The last time my dad was here, he gave us that look like,
what are you doing?
How long does your child need quiet time in the afternoon? And I was like, I don't.
For as long as I need quiet time.
Well, right. And it's good for her too. So the big thing is, as far as setting yourself up for success, I think it goes without saying, but, we all get busy. And especially with homeschooling, not right now, we're not running around as much as we would be, but we still have busy schedules. And
we were putting up the tree this past weekend, and I came out, I don't know where I was. I walked out and I said, sweetie, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Why isn't this baby down for a nap?
Right. We were doing lights.
Yeah. You just lose track of things. So it's totally understandable, but keeping to the naps, I think, has been the most important thing for me.
Yeah. Ultimately, if you are likely to find any success with managing to homeschool while your younger sibling is there in the room awake, your best bet is to make sure that they're well rested and well fed.
Yes.
Because a hangry, tired toddler is the worst thing in the world. So go in with a plan. So we actually stage. We have in the mornings when I get up with the kids, I will go and I like to read with my daughter, and sometimes she'll read to me. And so we do kind of an informal reading lesson.
Yeah.
But it just helps her to get some, outside encouragement besides just what you do with her.
Well,
and I stage breakfast bars in the room, so I am ready. I am ready to ply the
Water.
baby with a snack because I know that she wakes up and she's
Cheerios.
hungry.
Yeah.
And so I give her something, and that will tide her over until breakfast.
It's not even an informal lesson. I know part of our All About Reading, there's a whole section at the end of every lesson, which is reading poetry and reading to your child 20 minutes a day. And so that's a normal thing. So
yeah, so I guess maybe it is part of the lesson. Oh, thank you for legitimizing my time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I actually
appreciate you.
I actually no, I appreciate you. I actually I know that's a thing you do, and that's something I don't focus on doing because I know she's already getting that. And she gets it every day anyways. I read for her, during the day, I read to her for nap time, I read to her in the afternoon and whatnot. I do it all the time, and you do it all the time too. So it's kind of a freebie that we get on the reading side. But
yeah, it's great. So making sure that they're well rested, well napped. As far as being well rested, one of the things we have found to be the most successful is getting them outside and getting them fresh air. When the toddler has had a chance to be out, even if she's not, today I took her for a walk. I strapped her in the baby carrier on my back because it's still so efficient. I love my little baby carrier. And I just took her for a walk in the sunshine. So it wasn't even that she was running around, and she was still able to nap. So I think that that's, the best, one of the best ways I've found, get them activity, get them out in fresh air and sunshine if you can, or rain if you've got it. Just getting them outside helps them to have good successful naps, because a hungry and tired kid, you might as well not try to homeschool at that time. In our experience.
Well, and the next idea is to be very strategic on how you handle the activities that you have for your homeschooling activities, and thinking about how you can best split them up to achieve the same goals. I know a lot of people, we just had the great interview with Shannon, where she is able to do all of her homeschooling from, 9 until noon. She has a little bit older kids. She doesn't have the issue of a toddler. So she can do the time block. But if you're sitting there and you've got a toddler, and even if you have a toddler and say maybe a second grader, an 8-year-old or 9-year-old, and you've got to do a little bit more focused work, being able to take what your 8-year-old needs to do in a day and split it up so that you can take advantage of doubling up on, say, reading activities, or sitting and reading in a chair and having your 8-year-old read to you, as opposed to trying to cram that into a 3-hour block of time with a wild toddler spinning around as I like to say, an F2 tornado in the opposite neighboring field. You kind of leer at it. You go, "Is it coming? It's coming. It's going to hit my
right."
Yeah,
it might destroy a house.
It might destroy.
We never know.
Yeah, cow. Nope, that's the same cow.
Yeah,
but,
I think that's true.
Splitting up activities is something that
right.
I have been implementing a lot. Obviously you do a lot of the reading in the morning. Before my youngest takes her morning nap, I can do a lot of activities with my basically kindergartner, preschooler, that I can do with both of them. Music appreciation, art appreciation, reading stories, Khan Academy, or any type of online learning stuff that you do with your preschooler, kindergartner, first grader. You can give that to them, sit next to them, and play an activity with the younger kid while they do that activity.
Right. I mean, you've got to break up of all the tasks during the week. We have ones that we've really identified as this is a baby safe task, and this one is not. So for all those items that you just mentioned, those are perfect to do with a younger sibling.
Nature walks, getting outside, any of those type of things.
Right.
You have to do.
Right. Be prepared. And then the items that are not going to work with that younger kiddo, like for us, it's our daughter's math and read and her focused reading activity. Right. She's really got to focus for those two.
I honest to God, there's no way I could do the math or the reading lessons with that little one in the same room.
Right.
It's almost impossible.
But you have to be, I think that this is part of the setting yourself up for success, is understanding, okay, here's what I need to do for the day or for the week, and this is what I can and can't do with the younger child. Because when you have those moments without the younger kid, if that child is napping like ours does, or hey, you've struck onto some lucky independent play or something, you got to be ready to pounce. Yeah. You have to know that this is my window, and I need to do these couple of things that I can't do at any other time. So that's what's really, I think that's what's great about some pre-planning, right? If you've got a moment, you have a window, you have to really seize it.
Well, And it's
So
one
be
of those,
prepared.
and I think I've talked about it earlier, and I'll continue to talk about it. And I think it goes back to my software development kind of Kanban, work in progress type of thinking. That's kind of what I do in my own personal life is, limit my work in progress to its small achievable tasks. And so I've been able to do this with my oldest. Is you're right. If you do have a little window, understanding the tasks that you have to achieve. Like today, for example, we were doing the All About Reading. We were learning the letter E and the sound of E and doing some letters. I didn't do the whole lesson. I actually could have today, just gone through the whole lesson. She was really into it. She was just going with the flow and she was doing really good. But just being able to knock out 10, 15 minutes here and there and do part of the lesson and understanding how you can break up these lessons so that you can, I got 10 minutes. Hey, that little toddler is sitting in the corner. Let's just do a quick review of our letters real quick. Here's the flashcards. Boom, 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 boom. Knock them out. Or
Well,
here's
right.
a
This
couple
goes
words.
perfectly with your micro lesson theory,
Yeah.
right? Where we have lessons from All About Reading and Right Start Math that are longer, that are meant to, meant to sit for a while and do these. And you've already looked at these lessons and broken them into some natural breakpoints, which makes them perfect to be able to accomplish. You've got that window of time. Great. I'll do another piece of this lesson. So I think for your toddler or a baby that's not very flexible, you have to be that much more flexible. And we've tried to really instill that in our older daughter that, go with us, right?
Yeah.
Kind of on this journey.
Yeah.
We try not to break things up for her too much, but that's the other great thing about micro lessons. She doesn't feel like she's being pushed and pulled all over the place. She feels like she's getting all these little accomplishments, right? Oh, I got that math done. And then oh, the younger kid's back over and she wants to be involved. Great. Let's listen to some of our art, our music appreciation, or look at a piece of art or something that the kiddo can do. And, I don't think our older daughter is feeling as jumbled around as it might feel to us.
Well, and another thing that I do kind of along with that, you have to even prepare for the micro lessons. Like if you don't know what's coming up, you don't know how to break it up. And a lot of the times when I go into the beginning of the day and I go into the homeschool room, I will say to my oldest, I'm like, hey, you've got 5 to 10 minutes. You can do whatever you want, play with your sister, play in the little kitchen, play in the tent, do whatever you want to do. Daddy needs to get prepared for the morning, and I'll toss on some music, hey, Google, play, Last Christmas by Wham.
It's always Last Christmas.
It's always Last Christmas by Wham.
It's our daughter's favorite
Last Christmas,
song.
I give you my heart. The very next day, you threw it away. No?
You gave it away.
You gave it
How many
away.
times you gotta listen to this song?
I don't listen to it. I just like block it out.
At this point, it's just noise.
It's just noise. Anyway, so
We
I'll turn on a
digress.
little music. They'll start dancing. The toddler will do her one-legged broken leg horse dance that she's doing now. It's so
really
cute.
cool.
Anyway,
It's really funny.
so I'll spend the time. I'll pull down all the lessons that I can do. I'll look at the Trello board, because you've graciously set that up for me. I'll look at all the things. Like today I had to do reading. We had Hans Zimmer on the musical stuff today. We had some poetry. We had reading a new book. Was it Why Mosquitoes Buzz in Your Ear thing. And then I can choose and pick and choose which ones can I do, with the toddler in the room and which ones can I not do. And I went ahead and did that. I read The Grinch Stole Christmas. I read the book for the day. I did the poetry. We did the music. And that was with the toddler in the room. And she can do that. And because we're not sitting there so focused where I'm like right huddled up next to my oldest doing a math lesson or a reading lesson, the toddler doesn't, that's almost like blood in the water for her.
Right. She sees
She
it.
says,
She's like, there's
"Whoa,
something cool going on.
Daddy is really focused with sister. I have to get in there and I have to get on top of it.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and I have to disrupt this joyful moment
It's
that
way
I
too
see.
enticing.
Yeah, way too enticing. So being able to lay down on the ground, read a book with my oldest, sit in I think I had a blanket and some pillows up against the wall on the floor, reading with my oldest, and the little one couldn't care less. She goes, "Oh, I see that all the time. That's whatever. You guys do that. That looks silly. That looks silly."
This is one of those moments where I feel like, you son of it, because like,
Well, no, so you can't sit in the chair because the chair is a focus thing. You got to get on the ground.
But even so, I think that this is the difference that you're talking about between moms and dads,
yes,
or at least for me, right? Whenever anyone's close, the baby, whenever I'm more accessible, she's like, nurse.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I feel like it's hard right now. I can't sit and read with our older daughter, and I'm really glad that you can.
Well, so that, that's a good example of what how I can get that morning going. So I'll have set up on the table all the things I have to do, and then I'll get the, like if the math lesson, I had to get the dot cards today, I have to get the abacus out. I turn it to the page we're on. I had to pull up the All About Reading. I had to tear out a bunch of perforated cards. I had to get everything all ready. Giving my, oldest and my youngest to just, go off and play for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a few minutes to prepare. I can kind of break it up and go, okay, this is what I have to do. All right, let's do it. Right. It's not so daunting at that moment. I can just go ahead and attack the moment. And when you do get those little moments, I can go ahead and do them. It's just,
and it was
helpful.
the same way when our younger daughter was, a baby, or she could sit in the high chair for just a few minutes or be in the baby carrier for a few minutes. Oftentimes they're good, but it's just for a limited time. So that's one of the really great ways to just take advantage of that time.
The other idea is to align your homeschooling with the youngest's best time of the day. Like, so if you are going to have to do it with this toddler in the room or a baby or whatnot, try to figure out where in that, most of us try to do it in the morning, and,
but maybe that's not your kiddo's best time.
Maybe that's not their best time. Maybe their best time's in the afternoon, or
we have
right
like
when they
window.
wake up from a nap. Yeah,
we have a morning window for our toddler.
About an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not solid though. It's broken up, but it's a good time when she's just naturally she's come off of having a nice sized breakfast.
Yeah.
She's well rested. She runs upstairs and she goes to town playing, and she's pretty good for doing some independent things. Now it's not enough for you to do math.
That's typically when I take advantage, like as I talked about this morning, where I took advantage of being able to read to my daughter, being able to do the other things that are necessary for, the curriculum that she wasn't going to be hounding us on. Now, there's no way I could have done the math lesson, like have my daughter, hey, we need to do the stairs by odd numbers. Can you please do that? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, no, the toddler would have been all over us.
Well, right, and that's the problem too, right? Because that younger sibling can be distracting, but even so, right? Just trying to figure out, we're kind of, we think about the best time for us when we're up. We've had coffee, if that's your thing. Yeah. We're ready to roll. All those kind of things. When our learner learns the best, and it's challenging. Luckily, our daughter
bless her daughter. Yeah, she is very good about, okay, when it's time to learn, she's pretty much there.
And I think that we've done a lot of talking with our older daughter about the fact that we need to work when we can work, and so we've really taught her to be more flexible. That we have to put the timing kind of we have to do the timing around the younger kiddo.
This is important that we do this with you. This is important for you, but we understand sister can be a little needy in these times.
Right.
It's not the best. It's not what daddy wants. It's not what mommy wants. But come along with us. We're going to do our best that we can in this time period.
Right, and that means that sometimes we have to. Sometimes she has to do schooling when it might not be her optimal time because it works because the younger child can play. So really identifying when that younger sibling is most likely to be able to do independent play so you can get more done and really be ready to run. And then the other thing is be flexible about when that learning may need to take place for your older child. When it all falls apart, right? There's been times when we finished up a reading lesson after dinner because I'm off work and I can take the baby, and you're like, I just couldn't get anything done today. It didn't all align. And our older daughter is, she's really good about that. She's good about understanding.
She likes learning with you or me. She likes the one-on-one, oh yeah, let's do this, Daddy. Another thing that I've noticed that's really helped me in the last, month or two, when we go into the lesson, when I know, okay, we're going to do some math, we're going to do some reading, maybe we'll do some other stuff. I have my daughter, I have the oldest go and I say, hey, go pick something that you want to do, whether it's Khan Academy, you want to read this book? Do you want to do this? Today we were doing Khan Academy, and we did a little bit of Frederick, and we did a little bit of the Egypt sticker book. And so she got to pick the things that she wanted that will go in between the lessons, so that when we finish the lesson, she knows there's a reward of something fun in it. I know it's educational, but she really enjoys doing it. That's going to get slotted in between, so that while we're doing the lesson, I'm letting her know that, hey, we're almost done. And after this, we're going to do Khan Academy. And that really kind of propels her through. So if there is a little bit of, if she's not in her optimal time because the toddler was taking up some time or being a little disruptive, I'm able to get her through those harder things because she knows that there's something fun to do afterwards and that she chose to do that. Yeah. And I'm not really rigid on that choice. So if she says, oh, Daddy, I really didn't want to read this book, I really want to do this one, I'm like, absolutely, go get it. Let's do that one instead. And so she's super happy that she gets to choose that fun thing that she gets to do in between the lessons. I found that to be kind of a way to bridge through a little bit of that frustration that might come from her due to the fact that her sister is so, crazy around her sometimes.
Yeah. And we can see the stress too that it puts on her sometimes, especially when she just really wants us to read to her, and we just can't seem to get it accomplished because the younger one is just being crazy.
Well, she's really into listening to be, she really loves you to read it right now. She's in this really nice phase.
She is.
Yeah, the chapter books and the middle grade books, she is just loving you reading those. So we're in a really special time right now. We want to really make sure that we don't lose connection with that, because I think this might be that moment where, she's learning to read. She's now getting to read more complex, longer chapter books. You're reading them to her. And I think we're starting to get to that point where I think she's just going to explode in her reading, because she's going to want to do it herself. Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing great. And it is difficult to make sure that she doesn't get discouraged. I think that those rewards that you do are really perfect. And, we spent a lot of time talking with her about empathizing with her frustration when she really wants us to read, or she really wants to do some homeschool activity with us, and we are trying desperately to get that done because she wants to do it.
Yeah, art as well.
Yeah,
crafting.
She loves art, and it's like, and she keeps going, oh, sister keeps destroying this, or oh, sister keeps getting in the way, or sister's so loud. We've had a lot of conversations with her where first and foremost, we're just empathizing that, this stinks, right? We know, and
we keep telling her it's a short-term thing.
Right. Hey, this is gonna move on. If you can be flexible with us for a little bit, we'll do extra fun things like the rewards, or
you've been doing a lot of nighttime one-on-one efforts, whether you're reading with her or you're doing some Lego play or crafting like you were tonight.
Right. We put the baby to bed, and then I've let her stay up an extra half hour past the toddler's bedtime for one-on-one. And this has been a great time for me too, since I do work during the day, even though it's from home and I do see the girls. I'm still not like directly engaged with them. So one of the things that I found has been really nice is kind of building her expectations for what the next day is going to entail too. I think that's been really helpful, right? That this is what's going to happen tomorrow. Because our daughter is really, our older daughter is, she's at this age where tomorrow has endless possibilities. And so she will like try to plan out her whole day. We're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and we're going to go over here, and I'm going to play with my sister, and we're going to, and the little one might have completely different plans tomorrow. And invariably we all end up kind of having to bend to what happens with the youngest, right? Because we can't communicate with her in the same way. And so I've been trying to temper expectations a little bit with our daughter, saying, okay, well, this is what's going to be coming up tomorrow. This is what we're hoping to accomplish. And no matter what, when sister goes to bed, let's look forward to the fun thing that we're going to do together. And most of the time that thing is educational and is part of what we wanted to get accomplished anyway. So just some thoughts, but I think that really talking with your older child and having them be
flexible with the time,
with being flexible and knowing that this too shall pass, right? This is a short-term problem. And you need them to step up and work with you.
Well, and I think that kind of goes with the idea that, one of the reasons why we homeschool all year round, as opposed to taking it off in the summers or whatnot, And then why we use the weekends and why we're flexible with the evenings as well. I know a lot of times we would like to sit down and watch, the next episode of The Expanse or whatever it might be. While we still prioritize that during the week, we do take advantage of some nights saying, okay, we need to prioritize our older one because there may be those feelings of jealousy. I'm not being heard, which we know can lead to behavioral problems that we have to then check down the line. If we can, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, right? That type of thing. We find a lot of benefit being able to be adaptive in our time usage, especially if the weekend is, hey, we weren't able to get our nature study this week. Let's do it this weekend. Or, hey, the weather's going to be beautiful on Saturday. Let's go for a family walk or something like that. And then get that extra stuff out of the way. That for us, that's not, losing out. And we don't look at homeschooling. I think this is more of a philosophical thing on our side, is that we don't look at homeschooling as work. We don't look at education as work. We love education. We love learning. We're lifelong learners. I'm constantly learning, constantly reading stuff. For me, that's just, the air I breathe, right? I enjoy learning. I enjoy, reading about things. And I love sharing that with my daughter. So for me, homeschooling is not, yes, I'm not going to be, silly, but it is work. But it's
not pain.
It's not painful. Yeah. It's not painful.
I'm sorry. It was just a little labor humor.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like I embrace
fun.
I embrace the idea that,
for the most part.
I'm happy to sit down and watch a Nat Geo documentary with my daughter because she wants to learn about that. Or if on the weekend she goes, Daddy, how do they make basketballs? I don't know. Let's find out.
Oh yeah, how it's made.
How it's made. Dial up how it's made.
And our daughter loves to learn too, which is I think helps with this whole situation as well.
Correct.
Is she loves it, and so she doesn't look at it as, oh, I've got to do school today, because we're doing things she's interested in.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the tool belt. So we talked philosophy, kind of planning.
Right, make a plan and now arm thyself.
So when I first, when we first started doing the homeschooling, when we had our oldest, and then once our youngest was born, we were doing the Torchlight curriculum. At first when you were home on maternity leave, that was nice because I could just take her aside and, the baby would be nursing with you and I'd just take the oldest upstairs. We do our homeschool and then come back down. But then went back to work for, 4 months until then, the pandemic arrived. During that time period where my youngest was 4 months old until she was about eight months old I think it was somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think it's about right.
I think maybe she was almost to 10 months. Maybe she was closer to...
No. She was only 8 months.
She was about 8 months. Yeah, that's what I thought. So until she was about 8 months. So there was about a 4 month period where I was, in the trenches, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months old. And then I had my, my 4-year-old. Now, while my 4-year-old was also doing preschool at the time, she was doing 2 days a week preschool.
It's only like 2 hours each day. It's not a whole lot.
No. That's what we have now. But remember then it was 9 to 12 plus the hour of lunch munch.
Oh, that's right.
That's
There's
right.
No more
4
lunch
hours.
munch.
No more lunch munch now. But she had two 4-hour days during the week where she was at preschool, and then on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I was doing the entire Torchlight curriculum in that time frame. I was also doing some of it in the mornings on the days of on Monday and Wednesday when she was doing preschool. But when that was going on, and I know this is a unique struggle for a lot of moms out there, when you have this like newborn baby and you have to educate, I swear to you, the best thing I had going for me was 2 things. Number one, the high chair, and the fascination of having, a 5-year-old just sitting there chowing down on, a packet or, giving him a bottle in the high chair while
5-month-old,
while you're doing the homeschool education with your other at the kitchen table. That was very effective. The other thing that I did a lot of was I baby wore. So I put her on my chest. We have a very high kitchen table because I'm very tall and I don't want to sit like a little
freakishly
person.
Tall.
I don't want to be a little person in my table. I want to be a big person at my table. Who cares if my kids have to climb, the Eiger to get up to the table? I don't care.
And your wife.
And my wife. Everyone has to climb. Anyway, so my oldest can sit at the kitchen table and I can have the baby in the baby carrier kind of walking around, kind of orbiting around her, and I could read stories. We could do activities. We could do art. We could do all those things. So baby wearing was a really big
Oh
thing.
yeah, thank God for baby wearing.
Yeah, I know. So, I
Get the wrap or a baby carrier.
I have said it many,
oh,
many a
gosh,
times.
Love it.
I apologize for all the shade I threw at the Swedish feminazis that I used to call.
Oh my gosh, you were so
baby
anti. You were
Bjorn.
like, that's so emasculating.
It's
I
so
can't believe people wear like baby carriers.
I had
Now
all-
you were, and then
I
we
clutched
had our,
all my pearls really tightly. I was like, how dare they take my masculinity away?
Then we had our first daughter, and I went back to work, and she would not nap unless she was in a wrap. And the next thing I know, you're like, can you order me a wrap in my size?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got
you
the
have a custom wrap
I got the
from Poland.
handmade from Poland. It was beautiful, right?
It's a beautiful. Now you have your own
Yeah.
carrier. Yeah. It's
So I
it's a
used to
big
baby
thing.
wear, and then the baby would have her morning nap. She would sleep on my chest, and she slept well enough that I could kind of walk around and still read and talk with my oldest, and she could do math. I mean, she could do kind of a lot of the art activities that she had to do, and that was super effective. I mean, that was bulletproof for me for most of those days, and it was just the way to go. And so if you're a mom out there and you're pregnant, you've got your 4-year-old, and you go, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Baby wearing is going to become your friend for at least those first 6 or 7 months.
Oh, baby wearing.
Yeah,
Love
get
it.
to, maybe you might have to move to the kitchen table. I was actually really good where once the baby was asleep, I could kind of sit, pull her legs apart and kind of sit down into the chair and just kind of rock lightly. And I could do all the talking and all the lessons. And the fact that, her head was on my chest, she was, hearing my voice, and it was very soothing and that type of thing. And so she didn't have any issues of waking up early. She would sleep for an hour or so on my chest, and it was just really effective. So if you're a young mom out there and you don't know how to, how do I manage this? How do I do this? One of the big things that I used was baby wearing. It was one of the best things that I had.
Baby wearing. Love.
Not as effective once they can start climbing and screaming and yelling all around you. The second thing that was really helpful for us was really once we sleep train, we did the sleep training on our youngest. Once we were able to, and just before that, when I was doing the, as I like to call it, the hand of God down onto her chest in the pack and play.
Oh yeah, you had to hold your hand on her till she fell asleep.
Until she fell asleep, and I was able to slide out.
The things we do.
Yeah, I know the things we do. I was able to slide out of the bed, carefully close the door, and then go down the hallway, and then do the homeschool lesson, for an hour or so, and then she would wake up, and obviously then we'd have to get back into the management of the baby. But that was another way to go as well. Obviously doing really focused nap time, get them to sleep, get out of the room. Once we slept train her, I can put her down and she can put herself to sleep, and then I can go back and do that. And that's been really, gosh, for the last almost 6-7 months, we've been, maybe a little bit longer than that. I think it was like 11, 12 months old.
Yeah, we use the taking care of babies sleep training method, which we'll link in the show notes because, wow.
Yeah.
It just revolutionized our world.
Actually, maybe we'll do a whole podcast on that.
Man, it was great.
That was great.
So one of the other things for your toolbox is, a lot of times I find that our younger daughter, she just wants to participate. She just wants to be doing the same thing that her older sister is. Now, there's a lot of things that obviously she can't do. It's not safe. And so we've tried to put together some safer versions of the same thing. So we have we'll link in the show notes, the Melissa and Doug Water Wow set. So it's a water paintbrush essentially, and the pages, once you put water on them, they change color. So it's a picture of a fish or something like that. I mean, whatever it is.
And when you color it, there's like hidden objects that appear out of nowhere.
Right,
yeah.
and it's all just water based. And the moment that it dries, it all dries clear, and then they can do it again and again. Like, that's a great thing for us to give to the toddler in the high chair while our older daughter is doing watercolors.
Exactly.
Because we can't give that to her. If we're gonna have our older daughter wants to look at a book, we'll give our younger a board book. There's just different.
The other thing that we've been doing a lot is the busy boxes as well.
Right, busy boxes has been a really great idea. It's so you can like buy busy boxes or busy books, things like that. And basically, what it is it's exactly what it says. It's something to keep your younger kid busy. So what we did was we actually just created them.
Yeah, we took some like kind of Montessori block style toys.
We did all kinds of things. I basically went to the dollar store and I grabbed a bunch of little containers because I didn't want to care about them getting wrecked. And little kind of plastic envelope pouches, that kind of thing. And I just took a bunch of things that we already had in the house and put them there. So in one of the bins, I put the stacking rings, right? The classic, Fisher-Price stacking rings. In another box, I put a foam puzzle. In another one, I put a little wooden blocks and a wooden sorter.
Yeah, one of them was the truck with the animals that slide through the side of the truck.
Right. I did some felts in one of them so she could play with felts. And
what's really cool is we put it in a box on top of the fridge that, only I can reach.
Basically, only him.
When she sees you grabbing something out of that box, I mean, her eyes are just like a shark, like she's a shark, right? She just immediately sees that you're doing that, and she knows that anything on top of the fridge is very special, and immediately she gets locked in. And for me, a lot of times, giving her maybe 2 of these little activities, it can buy me about 5-10 minutes. So
they don't last long. That's what I say. One of the things with them is I wouldn't put a whole bunch of work into it. They have these amazing looking busy books or quiet books or whatever on Pinterest where, moms have made these beautiful pages and they've got a zipper on one page and buttons and cool little felts to stick in different places. And they've obviously spent hours and hours with work. My advice on busy boxes is do not spend that amount of time. Our daughter will play with this for like maybe 5 minutes and then she's bored of it.
And most of this happens in the high chair.
Right. A lot of it for us, we keep her in the high chair because it keeps her contained because she's a climber. So, but for us, I would recommend, don't spend a lot of time or money on a single busy item. Just get as many as you can that are different. That way you can rotate them and take from the toys that you already have, things you already have at home that are safe. You can do something like sensory bins and do rice and things or beans. If you're brave like that, you do you. But I would just say our advice would be to put together more of them of the cheaper, easier variety because they do tend to burn through their attention pretty quickly, but we don't care because we have, I don't know, I have like 10 up there or something. So he goes, oh, she's done with the rings. No problem. He grabs that together, pulls down another box. She opens it. She's good for another 5 or 10 minutes. Right. Yeah. And so I think, focus on quantity.
Yeah, really. I mean, a lot of times when the toddler is trying to get in with what you're doing, it's just she's bored or she's not entertained what she's doing. So if you can shift that attention over to something else that can give you a little bit of extra time if you're just trying to finish up that end of that lesson. Now, the last thing we have to mention is, you obviously need your silver bullet because there's always going to be that moment where your kid's like, Mommy, I hope you know I'm about to learn to read.
Yeah,
and
it's always a breakthrough moment when your younger child decides to have a meltdown.
Yeah, it's like Interstellar, and you're trying to align the ships, and you're trying to dock the two. Hans Zimmer's playing in the background.
It's always a breakthrough moment. I swear, it's always like you see this glimmer. Your older kids, they're locked in, they're doing great.
Exactly.
They're just about to make a breakthrough, and everything's going fine, and then World War III happens over there.
Or Madam Poopy Pants comes in and she's sticking her hands down her pants and you're like, what do you do? Oh gosh, that's terrible.
Right. Yeah.
Something terrible is going to happen. But anyway, so the thing is to have that silver bullet ready to go. For us, it's Olaf right now, the little compilation on YouTube.
Our kid loves Olaf. She will watch just about anything educational, but as a rule, I know we all try to kind of avoid screens and things, but hey, look, sometimes we got to get stuff done, or sometimes there's something big going on. There's a breakthrough moment.
Yeah,
we don't want to lose this momentum. Have that thing ready that always works with that kiddo. It's probably going to be screen involved, and plop them down for a few minutes. And in our opinion, we don't mind doing that for our daughter. We don't do it very often, but there's some times when you got to have a go-to. Mm-hmm. And don't feel guilty about it.
And one of the better ways that I've actually used this is you turn that Olaf show on, whatever, it's the 10 minutes of a compilation of all the shorts. You turn the volume off. She can still be locked into it. You take that you take the 5-6-year-old, turn her away from the television. Mm-hmm. She doesn't hear anything. She doesn't see anything. It's not distracting, and you can go ahead and get that thing done. You got 10 quick minutes. Boom, you're done. You're out of there. You turn the show off. You get back to your normal life. I have used that a couple times, but again, very sparingly. I don't like to leverage that all the time. Right. That's definitely not something. Personally, I'm not a very big screen person. I do like educational shows. I do like the YouTube shows and things like that, but I don't do it just as pure, mindless activity where you just kind of leave them alone.
We're not trying to get them to babysit, at all. But I mean, we're being real. Sometimes you've got to throw on Sesame Street and just because that's what you need to do to get other things done and
so
have
those
available.
those are a bunch of ideas. Hopefully, we've imparted some learning onto you.
Or maybe not. Impart some learning back to us. We would love to hear your comments. If you've got you've had 10 children and you just know it all, and you've got all the coping tricks, I mean, we'd love to hear.
As often as this question comes up, this comes up as probably like number 2 behind, am I doing enough? How do I educate with the crazy kid? How do I educate with the kid that's, young toddler kid, right? Mm-hmm. How do I handle this type of, mentality when I'm trying to do focus time with my older kid? I think this is just a natural problem. It always happens. You can insert the James Franco meme where it's like, this is your first time, eh? So
I feel like we ask every guest, and we asked Shannon this too. Like, you had a young kid. What'd you do? I think everybody's just wanting to know. Like,
but I think the answers for most people is pretty obvious, right? It's like, you're going to have to learn to deflect the toddler. You're going to have to be agile. You're going to have to be adaptive until that toddler becomes a little bit more independent or becomes having to do their own homeschooling, especially because I'm just kind of remembering back, like when, what was my oldest like when she was 2.5? She was pretty chill. Like she could sit down and do an activity and whatnot.
It's a limited
it's a very
window of
short
time.
period of time. Yeah. And now that can be very frustrating if this is your first time homeschooling and you're taking your second grader out of school due to COVID and you've got your, 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old sitting here crazy and you're nervous about, am I going to screw up my kid type of thing. It can be very difficult and it can be very challenging because you feel like any moment that this toddler takes me away from my second grader is going to be hurt for the rest of their lives. They're never going to get anywhere because of this. And that's just not the case. And really, take our advice where, we go all year round. We use the weekends. We use the evenings. You have all this extra time. It doesn't have to all be done within the 1 hour a day of learning. You can really be adaptive. Learn to deflect the kid. It's only going to be for a very short period of time.
And you may find that for some period of time, it's just not workable for you.
Yeah, right.
That, you're going to homeschool light, maybe, right? You're only going to maybe only do the essentials, just your reading, writing, math, and just let the other things go. Or, do what you can. I think the thing is when we ask this question, there's never one answer. There aren't even a lot of good answers. And I don't even know if the answers we've given are very good, but I think it's because there isn't a magic sauce for this.
It's really it requires a lot of on the job training. When you're in the moment,
and everybody's kid's different.
There are some kids that their parent, these kids might have ADHD. You might have a kid on the spectrum. Whatever that might be, you may have unique challenges, or you just may have a very rambunctious 2-year-old, right? Or you may have a young boy that he's got to chew on the railing for 20 minutes a day, and that's okay. That's normal, so whatever it is for you.
Our older daughter bit a Christmas light today.
She bit a Christmas light and she goes, Mommy,
she's 5. She goes, I wanted to know what it tasted like. And she bit and cracked a Christmas light. So you just can never,
you cannot anticipate what's going to happen.
Look, I think ultimately all you can do is have a good game plan, fill your toolbox, try your best, and have give yourself, be kind to yourself and your kids with what you can do, because it's just not easy. I don't think anybody's like, homeschooling with a toddler is awesome. Yeah, right? No. I
don't know anyone who said that.
Said no one ever. I think it's just really hard. So, arm your toolkit, make a good plan, try to be flexible, coach your older kid to be flexible too. And then, just do your best and be okay with that. I don't think we should beat ourselves up. It's a small period of time.
Yeah.
It will get better as they get older, and we've got to make it through and get as much done as we can.
Except for that mom who just got pregnant and she's got the 1.5-year-old and the 4-year-old.
Yeah, I mean
we're just praying for you.
That's just it's rough. It's
so rough
dealing with little kids.
Gosh,
this is why I feel like folks who run early, very young child daycare centers and stuff, like they just do not get paid enough for this, because it's really really hard. And maybe the things that we've said aren't going to be helpful.
No,
but
they're helpful.
Maybe if you don't take anything else away from it, just commiseration that it's really hard, and do your best and be kind to yourself.
So let's end this. We're going a little long today, but that's okay. I think it was an important topic. I think it was good to get that off the chest. And
I feel like this was cathartic for us. I feel like if anybody else thinks like
Ariel, like all days, I'm going back to the front tomorrow. I'll see you on the front lines.
Yeah, I feel like we sound like we have it all together. We so don't.
It's all right. It's almost 10 o'clock, and we're got to get to sleep, and because that one's waking up. Anyway, let's end it like we.
Wake up in
7.5 hours. Let's end it like we always do. What are we into? Let's do it real short. The Who Was and the Who Is books.
Yeah, I think it's called the Who HQ. There's a bunch of books, right? So, Who Was Napoleon? Who is Oprah? Whatever. I mean, if you look at these books, if you see them,
They tend to have the large cartoony head on the front.
Right. So they've got this little body and like a giant cartoon head. They make them about everything. They make them about who was, who is. So, current and past folks, they do it. What are the pyramids? What were the 7 wonders of the world? Right.
Who was Frederick Douglass? What was the Revolutionary War?
Right. Yeah. So they've just got a million of these books. They're basically middle grade short chapter books. I think, 11, 12 chapters.
And they have illustrations within the chapters.
The illustrations are all black and white. They're all very good, though. They give really great information about the subject that's super engaging. So we have read a few of them. I have a bunch of them, actually, but the ones that we've read so far, we just finished What Was the First Thanksgiving, which I thought was really... It explained the concepts very well. I would say that the age range for these books, probably the target range for them is maybe 7 up, 6, 7 up. I'm reading them with my newly turned 5-year-old. She's not getting everything, but she's really enjoying it. We're reading Who Was Jesus, since it's getting to be Christmas time, and it's been really...
It's kind of a secular take on it, too.
It is a secular take on it, where they give a lot of good information, and they give some things from the Gospels and kind of talk about what is known, and I just did a really good job with that. I've got a bunch of them. These are some of my favorite books to have a book outlet. So if you find something at Book Outlet, if you're going back to our Buy All the Books episode, and you need to get to $35 free shipping, Book Outlet always has these books, and they're usually just under $2 a piece. The books are all fantastic. They provide really great information in a very age appropriate format, where they kind of explain new words and things, and they're just all around terrific. If you look at reviews on Amazon for any of these books, you're going to see that they're just fantastic. So I would highly recommend that you pick it up about any subject that you might want to augment, and especially if you want to get a bunch of them cheap, you can easily get $35 worth at Book Outlet. I've never done that. And if you want to make up to free shipping, these are just like a great go-to. I anticipate us collecting a lot of them. They have it on just about every famous person.
It's kind of subject. Our new Great Illustrated Classics collection that we're trying to do.
Yeah, they're just absolutely
because these
fantastic.
are going to pay off dividends in the future as well. Not just reading them now, where you're just trying to introduce concepts and historical figures and stuff to our youngest. I mean, our oldest. These are going to be great early readers as well when she finally gets into that 8-9-year-old range. Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll probably read this to her. I wouldn't say she'd probably read these on her own until she's maybe like third or fourth grade, maybe fourth grade. Until then, we would have to read these to her because they are kind of middle grade. But I love how they make the subjects accessible without dumbing them down. Cool. And they're very affordable. Even if you get them off Amazon, I think they're like $4.99, $5.99. They're very affordable. So definitely check out the Who HQ, which is the Who Is, Who Was book series. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!